Hello. Hi, hi, hi. Can you see me? Can you see me? Are we good? Instagram, Instagram, YouTube. Sorry, guys. Today got really busy. Let me know if you can see me. LinkedIn, let me know. Send me those comments. Let them come in. Let me know that you can. I'm live. Okay. I think I should get my extra lights up. I should get my extra lights up. Let me know. Can you see me? Good evening, everyone. How was your day? Hope you're doing well. If you're here and you can see me, so we are live for, I think this should be episode 8 or 9 of C Suite Speaks. And I'm excited. I'm excited. We are live. Let me know. If you're on Instagram or LinkedIn and you can see me, let me know. I want to put in my extra lights. I apologize. My nose wants to rest. Yeah, I think we have our lights. This makes it brighter. Okay, let me check. Now, where's my phone? Oh, that's interesting. Now I'm looking for my phone to be sure we are live on LinkedIn. Okay, for some reason I can't find my phone now. All right, let's go. Welcome, welcome. It's another episode of C Suite Speaks with the Happy Employee Coach, where we do a quick speed mentoring and bring some education to you about how to thrive at work. You know that here we're all about helping you to thrive at work, helping you to show up at work as your authentic self and truly just, enjoy the journey. I believe firmly that employees deserve and can learn to be happy at work. And that's why I do what I do as the happy employee coach, amongst all the many things I could have been doing. Now, why is my lighting gone off? Amongst all the many things I could have been doing, I've chosen to show up as the happy employee coach to show people how to be happy at work, right? I hope this light stays on today. It will stay on. So it's C-Suite Speaks with the Happy Employee Coach. It's C-Suite Speaks with the Happy Employee Coach, where we come together. Okay. Please, LinkedIn, let me know if you can see me because I'm supposed to be live. Oh, what's going on? Okay, I'm streaming on YouTube and LinkedIn. What happened? Saying okay. I should be live on LinkedIn now. Something seems to be the matter. Okay. LinkedIn, please let me know if you are there before we bring up our guest. Sorry about all the delay. This is my lights, clearly. This is my lights. Okay. So, LinkedIn, let me know that you are there. Let me know that you are there. All right. Okay, this light, I don't know what's going on. Okay. So our guest is waiting to join. So welcome. I'm sorry, LinkedIn. We're just going live on LinkedIn. I missed that, but I know we've been live on Instagram and we're live on YouTube as well. So welcome everyone. This is C-Suite Speak with Neka, the Happy Employee Coach, and the whole idea of this podcast or show, I don't know what name we want to call it yet, right? Is to say, hey, let's hear our own stories, right? Let's hear our own stories. Let's hear, how people are thriving at work, how people have made work for them. Yeah, I think I like the sound of that. Making work for you, right? So that's what this is about, essentially, in summary. Honestly, that's what I want to do with this. Share stories. It's not another do it like this, don't do it like this, do it like that. It's you just hearing real life stories of how people have thrived at work. And what I've done is to intentionally look for people who have worked for decades, right? Who have worked for decades, right? And that's what I want to do. I bring them to you, and gratefully, I have people who are always willing to come on here and to share their stories and share their journey, and that's just such a huge blessing, right? That I don't take for granted. So it's something that I don't even play with, not even remotely. I don't play with it, because it's such a huge privilege to be able to bring people here to share with you, right, their real life lessons, what they've experienced, how they've grown, how they've made work for them. So our guest is going to be joining very soon. His name is Stanley Elua, and as our custom is, we allow our guests to introduce themselves. I'm sorry the light keeps changing. For some reason, my light source, I don't know what to explain. I don't know how to explain what it is doing, but we'll make it work, and we'll make the best of today's session. So let's trust that it would stay stable this time around. I've changed it. Yeesh. Okay. I'm really sorry. So this is the month of October, and the year is coming to an end. And if you're here, I don't know if you're like me, wondering, what has 2025 brought for me? How have I maximized 2025? What's going on with 2025? If you're like that and you have any questions to ask about how do I make 2026 work better for me, please, by all means, go ahead and ask those questions, right? We'll answer them as much as we can. So again, good evening, everyone. And yay, our guest is here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hooray. Thank you, thank you. I can't hear you. Can
Good
you check
evening,
if
Nick, and good evening, everyone, and thanks
okay.
for having me.
Awesome. I can hear you. Awesome. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on C-Suite Speak with the Happy Employee Coach. So what I try to do with this whenever we start is to share a background of
Okay.
why we're here.
Okay.
So the backstory is that sometime in 2021, I started trying to go live every weekend to
Okay.
speak to employees and say, hey, get ready for the new week. What's the new week going to look like for you? How are you going to be happy at work? I did that for a bit and then stopped. Earlier
Okay.
this year, it occurred to me, I started watching the podcast Diary of a CEO. And while watching that, I thought, this is good storytelling, right? But we
Okay.
don't have anything like that on this side of the Atlantic, one. And
Okay.
two, for our young people coming up, right? There are stories of resilience, right? People look at leaders, who've worked for years, and what they see is the glam and the glitz.
Yeah.
They don't see the grit, they don't see the groaning, they don't see the
Yeah.
growth
Yeah.
that brings those things. And so I
Yeah.
thought, okay, let me leverage my network and bring C-suite leaders, right?
Okay.
And let's have this conversation. It's a speed mentoring session. You're telling us your story. You're
Yeah.
telling us where you are coming from. You are telling us what's possible, right? And what I've discovered every time I always say this is I am doing this in my mind. When I started doing this, I was doing it to help younger people. That's what
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah.
However, I must say that I have been the number one beneficiary, right, in the
Amazing.
process.
Good.
I
Good to
have
hear.
learned a lot, and I've had people reach out to me to say, hey, I do want to come on the show. I've had people reach out to me to say, even I've worked for 15 years, 20 years. I've learned a lot too. I learned a lot by watching, right? So
Okay.
that's what this is about. It's really you sharing your story
Thank
and
you.
giving hope and inspiration to people. And that's what it's about. So
Thank
I'll
you.
ask the questions, but
Okay.
literally I'm following your lead, so to say,
Okay.
right? I'll ask the questions and we'll just take it from there. So let's begin. So if you're on LinkedIn, you're on Instagram, you're on YouTube, please repost. Let's get the news out that we are live. It is time for C-Suite Speak, and we know what happens, right? When it is time for C-Suite Speak, is a lot of lights and a lot of inspiration, a lot of learning that happens at C-Suite Speak. So let's begin. So welcome again, Stanley. Thank you very much for being here. I don't take it for granted at all. And we would start by asking you to introduce yourself. And in answering that question, tell us what you, in answering most of the questions, keep this lens on. What would I tell my younger self 20 years ago? Right. So asking the questions, that's one lens I want you to have on. But introduce
Yeah.
yourself across any area of life. I've had people introduce themselves and focus on their faith. I've had people introduce and focus on what they do outside. It's just tell us who you are, and then we'll take it from there.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having, excuse me. Thank you, Nika, for
Sorry.
having me. And for everyone on the show today, it's exciting to be sitting in front of you. And I'm excited that I have the privilege to share. And thank you for coming to listen. So where do I start from, Nika? All right. So for me, it's been an amazing journey of life. I tell people that life is a sea of opportunities, and when you start your journey, what has happened behind you is just history. What lies ahead of you is a sea of opportunities, and what you do with that is what it becomes, actually. So, growing up several years back, I remember very vividly in my days in school. I studied computer science, and I had a strong passion to really piece computers together. So those days, I would leave school in Enugu. Sometimes I'll take a night bus, and then I'll travel to Lagos because I was learning to assemble computers, and people will come to my place in school, then stay in my apartment. They want to learn how this guy pieces computers together. How do you buy the parts? I'll come to the Lagos Market Computer Village, buy computer parts. I'll travel the next night back to Enugu. So I'll miss one day in school. But you know what? Because I've traveled at night, I have done all of those in one day, and I haven't missed more than one day in school. And I'll get back, and then I'll begin to piece them. And then I started training people about these things in school. So at a point, I started thinking about the future. What does the future hold? Are we going to continue like this? And then it was exciting to hear about the Millennium Bug. The computer was going to be it, and everybody in the year 2000 was preparing, saying to everybody who was a typist, if all you know to do is to type, you're going to lose your job. So for us, it made us feel good somehow, and I started writing certifications. For those who understand the computer space, started doing the Cisco exams. At this time, I could write programming languages like BASIC, COBOL, Fortran, C++, and all those at that time. And then I had a book this massive that I had to tear into two because I couldn't carry it. So I had to break it up, and then so I can carry the book. So I was preparing to write an exam. They called the CCNA then. They had, and the higher version of it is the CCNP, Cisco Certified Network Associate, Cisco Certified Network Professional, because I wanted to get better. But as I kept doing that, I realized that I was doing very well training people. People would, in fact, during my NYC days, I had a computer outfit where, because everybody wanted to be computer compliant to be able to get their next jobs, they would just come and they would line up in my computer place, and I was just training them. And I charged them a little fee, and I just made those money that made all of that money at that time. So I was getting excited training people. So I was asking myself, Stanley, are you sure this is the place you should really be? Or do you think, because you have passion supporting people, growing talents, helping them get better, there was a passion inside of me to train and to help people learn. So during NYC as well, I still remember I was speaking to a few friends, and a few of them came to, we're just hanging on that one tree and we're having conversations. I served in Edo State, somewhere in Edo State, and we're having those conversations. And I had a few friends say to me, I have an uncle in Globacom. I'm sure I'll get a job in Globacom. Someone else came and said, I have someone in MTN. I'm looking forward to getting a job in MTN. And I sat down and I was asking myself, Stanley, you don't have any Abraham as godfather. So what happens to you, Stanley? I kept quiet all through, and I'm a quiet person when I don't really need to speak. But when I need to speak and I have a platform, I can run the way I'm running now, and I won't stop. So I just observed and I was quiet. Yeah, and I said, okay, the future, here we come. NYC will be done soon. And that's how we ran, finished. And the year we finished NYC, I got a job with MTN. And that's how my career started. And I started off in the call center from a very humble beginning. But by the side, I was still trying to do my certifications because I was quite hungry. I mean, working in a call center, you'd agree with me that when you wear the headset and you're talking to people, you're not engaging with with human. You're just talking, and at the background, people just say all sorts. Those who insult you will insult you. And I said to myself, Stanley, this is not what it is for you. You will not live your life doing this. There's a whole lot more. There's a whole lot more. You need to start thinking about what that more is. And I started to think about it. And honestly, it then, I didn't remember that. See, you've been doing this training thing. In HR, there's a unit called training. Why not use that as your door into HR? I think there's a whole lot here for you. You've got passion for people. You love to support people. You love to help people. You are patient to train people and to support them. And that's how I woke up one day. I started applying for jobs in HR, and I left my computers field, and I left that background and I started applying for jobs in HR. I kept doing that until one day in MTN, a role opened, the role of a trainer, and then they asked us we applied, and we came for the interview. Very funny experience, where several of us who came, and they had about 7 or 8 jobs at that point as trainers around the country. We all did the training interview, and they asked us to come make a presentation. I got there, I made the presentation. Because I had a computer background, I could do PowerPoint very well, I could do all of those things, and they loved it. Now came the very tough part, the one-on-one interview. And then someone asked me in that interview, I will never forget, Stanley, yes, you've done an amazing presentation, beautiful, well done, but you don't have any experience. How do we trust that you can do this? And I said to them, I said, see, I have not trained in a corporate environment before. But in my church, I run the youth ministry. And after church on Sundays, I gather them together. And then I'll put this kind of PowerPoint slides before them. And I'll be teaching them things about career, about life, about the future. And I think somehow it impressed my interviewers. And when a week after, others who came for the interview, you know how we do it now? When you go for interviews, you connect with the other people who had come for the interview. Guy, have they reached out to you? Guy, how far? Everybody was saying, I got a letter. I am now a trainer. I got a letter. I am now a trainer. Stanley Elua didn't get any letter. And I said, I have been abandoned. I have been abandoned. And I was a bit worried. But guess what? I think it was a situation of saving the best, for the last. And the next week, my letter appears and it comes to me, and they didn't give me the role of a trainer at that point. I was moved to a role that was a bit higher, and it's called the learning advisor. The learning advisor doesn't just stand up and train. You train, but you sit in the line as a HR advisor, understanding learning needs of the function, and then building development solutions for that function. So that's what I had. That's the role I now got. And that was amazing. And I said to myself, Stanley, you are now in HR and you're going to give it your best. And there were 2 things I did, and I won't forget. One of them was to ask myself, Stanley, you are here now. You know nothing here. How do you quickly start to build the right, build knowledge, then transform that to skill, and then the right leadership behaviors for success? Those were 3 things that were very important to me. I drove to Lantana one of the days, and I just went there and I was looking for HR books. Now, with the short period I had spent in HR at this time, I was beginning to build something in my mind to say, what does HR really do? So you have recruitment, you have talent management, you have whatever. But one of the first thing I did was to, in my head, encapsulate all of this and try to give it a name. And I said to myself, everything HR does is talent management. And what do I mean? I realized that we're trying to, what we call recruitment is actually how we attract talents. It's talent attraction. Employee value proposition, all of those big things. At that time, they were big things. They were big, huge grammar for me. And I said, okay, what we call learning and development is talent development. All the other elements, they enable talent engagement, and then talent retention. Comp and Ben helps us retain our talents and so on. So I said, okay, Stanley, you have to find your way into talent management. I wanted to be where it happens. I wanted to be where I know I'll stretch myself, but I wanted to learn. And then that's how I got. At that point, I worked with a boss in that organization. I will never forget. She was a blessing to me. Even though she stretched me, she was a blessing. And let me say to everyone listening today, if you are starting your life and starting your career, and you just want it easy and you're not willing to stretch, then let me tell you, you can only go as far. You can't really get, there's certain levels you will never get to. And I tell you, if you follow my story, and I'll show you that in a minute. And I went under her, and I remember very well on certain days, my mates will get up and they're going home after work, and I would have to stay back because there are projects I'm working on with her that I haven't finished. My mates, in fact, someone came to me one day I will never forget and tapped me on the shoulder and said to me, Stanley, how can a woman be putting you down like this and you sit down every day? You are a family man. Oh, what else is all of this? I'm sorry I said that. But I'm sure if she's on this call, she's hearing this for the first time. And I smiled. And I said to myself, Stanley, you see this role, you are here. Let me also add this. At this time, I had built a career plan to say, this person I am reporting into is a general manager. What does it take to get to a general manager? So I took job descriptions of roles from where I was, the various roles, and I studied all the job descriptions and years of experience required. And I said, Stanley, you are going to get to this role at X time. So I built my own plan to get there. So the next role after me required a 4-year experience in HR. And remember that I just moved into HR. So I said to myself, Stanley, you will get that role in 2 years, in 2 years. So when people close at 5 and go home, for me, day one has ended. When I work from 5 to 10 p.m., day two, that's day two for me. So for me, in 1 year, I was looking for 2 years experience in 1 year. And I was looking for a 4-year experience in 2 years. Don't ask me how this worked, but I'll tell you what it was. I mean, I'll tell you how it went. So every day at 5, when my mates carry their bags and I lift my head and I see them go, in my mind, I've recorded day one. At 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., when I'm going home, in my head, I've recorded day two. It's nobody's business. It's my business. It's my plan. I'll wrap up soon so that I can take the questions. And then when it was 2 years, I had done 4 years. Then I applied for that role became vacant. So I applied for it. It required 4 years experience, but I had to. I applied for it and they graciously invited me to the interview. I sat at that interview and I think I did well to the best of my ability. But because I was still quite young, feedback was very clear, and I take that seriously. They said to me that you still require a bit of leadership because it was a leadership role. You need to dial up your leadership a bit. You need to do a bit more with leadership. Apart from that, you know this job very well. We'll give you another opportunity next time at the job. And I said, that's okay. But guess what? 1 month after, a recruiter, a headhunter, comes after me and says to me, Stanley, there's a role to head a group as their head of learning and talent management. So this is somebody who didn't get a managerial role somewhere, and they say you're going to be head of learning and talent for a group. I gave it a try. And I said, let's go. First level interview, I scaled. Second level, I scaled. Third level, I was going to sit before a HR director. So we got there that day. I saw people who had experiences. I knew them at that point, who had years of experience, who had better and stronger HR experience than I did. And they were all at that interview, and I was just saying, Stanley, what are you doing here? What are you doing here, Stanley? What are you doing in the midst of these people? These are sharks. What are you small fish, small fry coming into? I went in for that interview. And guess what? We finished. I was surprised that the next week I was called, and I won't forget what they said to me that day. They said, Stanley, at the interviews, in terms of years of experience, you had the least. You were the least of all of them. I mean, in terms of meeting that particular requirement. But in terms of substance, you were the person who really came to this interview with substance. Let me tell you where substance came from. It was the days of staying 2 days or doing my 2 days per day at work. I haven't said this. When I wanted to build my career, I drove to Latana one day and I bought a carton of HR books. As in, I bought books and filled a full carton and said, Stanley, you fill yourself with knowledge. You will then work it out and build skill, and then leadership, you will then grow it. And because those days, because I was available when HR was going for strategy retreat, I was the only guy they would drag in to say, "You're not a manager yet, but young man, I better come. You're the one who will run around for us." So I'll run around, I'll do the minutes. But when I sit and they are doing the minutes and the CEO and leaders are coming to charge HR, those things were hitting my head, and I was taking and soaking them in. So when I moved into this organization, and they said to me, Stanley, you don't have everything, but you have substance. I said to them, it's okay, let's negotiate. So when they asked me, Stanley, what do you want to earn? I told them X. They said, Stanley, we will not pay you X because you don't have the kind of leadership we're looking for, but you got substance. And I said, no problem. Remove this amount from X. Pay me this for now. If in 6 months I prove to you that I will do this role, please remember when you're confirming me to add my XO. They said yes. I said, no problem. Deal. Let's start. And that's how we took off. And I led that organization. I didn't only lead the group in Nigeria, I led it so well that I became the head of talent for Africa. I covered Africa leading talent management. I was in the UK doing projects for them. And before this, I had gone to South Africa for MTN, gone to several countries for MTN, Bissau, Benin Republic, a few other countries to establish talent management because I was the first guy in MTN who started talent management. I sweated it working under this particular leader. I learned all I wanted to learn. Folding my sleeves and learning all I could. So I took that into this organization. And trust me, today the rest is history. I've done that today. I've moved beyond that. I've done HR as a whole. I've led HR for multinationals. And today, I speak to you. I'm in the United Kingdom doing global consulting, doing global projects, and supporting global organizations. Let me pause here because if you leave me, Neka, is storytelling you told me. I'll tell my story. And thank you.
Just wow. Can you hear me? Because it looked like my network was shaking a bit.
I can hear you now. Yes, I can hear you now. Yes, I can hear you.
I don't know. Okay, so just to be clear, I've been writing, right? Like when I tell people, I tell my guests that has been the last few episodes we've done have provided more learning for me than crossed half page of an A4 page writing and taking notes. So in my head now, I'm asking myself, where do we begin these questions from? Because you've dropped many truth bombs. I'm just wondering, hey, where will I start from? I don't know.
Like they say, start from anywhere.
In the first 1 minute, in the first 1 or 2 minutes, you said something.
Okay.
That what has happened to us in the past is history.
Yes.
But what is ahead of us is a sea of opportunities. And that has done something to my heart because it just says to me, look ahead with a lens of opportunities. Look ahead and see. It's almost a lift up your eyes and see situation.
Absolutely.
Right. And I'm starting from there because I want anyone listening to this to understand what is happening in my own head.
Okay.
Let me share my own, right? That if you are not careful, you can be held back by what was.
Absolutely.
The school you went to, the previous post you had, the place you worked in before, the colleague that was frustrating, the toxic environment. You can actually be held back by those. And your career, your future suffers because you are trapped there. And you're not raising up your head to say, whatever comes in front of me is presenting a sea of opportunities.
Absolutely.
And how am I evaluating from that lens of opportunities? This new boss that is coming am I looking at this person as presenting a sea of opportunities? This this that sentence alone, I feel like we can just stay there. If we don't shift from there today, there's just so much to
From that point,
unpack
yes.
in that
I agree.
sentence.
I agree.
What is behind is
Yeah,
history. What is ahead is a sea of
absolutely.
opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, while we are here, again, a reminder, repost on your LinkedIn, repost on WhatsApp, repost on your Instagram stories. Let's get people learning. Something you said here again, so let me ask this question. What made you feel like you were good at training? And I want you to answer this question from the lens of someone who feels, I don't know my purpose, I don't know what
Okay.
I can do,
Okay.
I don't know. What can you unpack that journey of starting to
Yeah.
teach people and then discover from that point starting to teach people to discovering I'm actually
Yeah.
good at this thing? Can you unpack that journey so someone listening can find themselves in your story?
Thank you, Nick. Let me just add to the point you were trying to make about history and the sea of opportunities. And I like to say that you can't control your beginnings, but you can rewrite your becoming. Yeah? You can't control your beginnings, okay? But you can rewrite your becoming. So sometimes what happened to us in the past, some of us jumped into roles that we didn't even know, we didn't even plan for. Some of us, the situations of life just, you know how they say, condition make a fish bend, eh? It just bent us into situations. But we may not be able to control that. But see, what lies ahead of us, we can really rewrite them and then position ourselves for success. Let me go to the question or the element you like me to emphasize. I like to say here that in terms of defining and finding purpose, initially I had thought that growing up, my father had always told me that because I realized that I just love to in the house. I love to fix things. I used to do this DIY. Always used to enjoy it. So that's why I went into computer science and I learned to do all of those things. But I realized as well that apart from that, while I naturally would, I mean, growing up, I was naturally a shy person. I'm not someone who had so much of confidence at some point. I didn't believe I could stand before people. But I realized that at some point, whenever I try to stand before people, somehow it just flows naturally. I'm able to hold the attention of people for a while. And with a few points that I have made, I'm able to sell whatever idea or whatever topic it is that I need to talk about. And I realized that I did this effortlessly. Not like it wasn't like going into the computer space where I have to read a lot of things and I have to do a lot of what do you call it? I had to study a lot to become the computer engineer I wanted to be or become, right? In this instance, just create the platform. Stanley stands on the platform and Stanley starts to flow. And the attention of people I hold for a while. I did that. It started from church, actually. And then I realized that from church, this was moving into um, things I did outside of church. So for those of you on this live session and listening today, listen attentively. See, there is something about you that you do effortlessly. You don't struggle with. You just realize that it comes naturally to you. Sometimes, if you check around it, you will find pointers to what life has designed, for want of a better word, designed for you to do. There are people who are very analytical. See, numbers is like this for them. Just say it before you say Jack. They have multiplied X and Y and Z, and they are giving you the answer. They don't have to punch calculators like some of us. If I take a calculator, as for for me, sometimes I may have to punch very well to get it. There are people too who it may not be that for them. It may be something about how you care for people. You realize that you're just not, when you come into a setting and everybody is fighting. Once you start, you are the one who would say, "Guys, calm down. Guys, calm down," and everybody listens. You're able to pull people together. Sometimes maybe telling you something. For some individuals as well, you realize that you are someone who is able to connect with people naturally. Not everybody is able to break into a network. You go into a place and you see people watching football and immediately There are some people who would not be able to do that. So you realize that for you to really do sales, for instance, you're someone who can break into people's networks and then be able to take advantage of that network to create value. So it could be anything, but the question is, what is that thing that you see you do naturally and you don't struggle? Because see, work from your strengths. If you were to do a SWOT of yourself, what are the things that you see as strengths today? And if you take strength, that's why if you see the way SWOT is designed, it's SWOT. Under the S is the opportunity. When you find strengths, look for opportunities there. When you find weakness, you look for threats. There may be threats around it. So you need to be able to map that clearly in your mind, and then it will lead you closer to what it really, really would be for you. And that's how I found mine, and that's how I was able to get here. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I've been writing again. You said you noticed that you were good at holding people's attention and you did it effortlessly. The sad thing is that many of us find that thing that we do effortlessly, but we just disregard it. We say,
Yeah.
what's there? Everybody can do this thing now. We don't pay, what is this? Is this what people are doing to make money? No, everybody can do this now. Why? We tend to downplay those things that
Yeah.
we are good at. What gave you the guts to start charging people money,
Yeah.
right? As an
Yeah.
NYSC person, right? What gave you the guts to say, okay, I'm going to Lagos, I'm coming back, I'm fixing computers, and people are asking me questions. Oh, I went to NYSC. What gave you the guts to say, let me charge people? Because that takes it to a
Yeah.
different level.
Okay, so I'll tell you.
So what gave you the guts to
Thank you.
do
So
that?
I'll tell you. It started from school, actually. And people will come to school. There are those who are serious and those who will come play and wait for exams and then sort themselves somehow. When I mean sort themselves, last minute we'll read. Last minute we'll do group reading. Somehow. But I always prepare ahead. And the way I prepare is I found a principle that worked for me, and I think it worked for a few people as well. So I stay up all night. I'll go to school at night. I'll read till early hours of the morning, and then I go back to sleep. But you know what? When I come back to class, whenever there's time between one lecturer and another, I will stand in front of the class and I want to share what I have studied. Because once you share what you have learned, the likelihood of it sticking, it multiplies, right? So you can read and it stays, but once you have shared and spoken about it, and in most cases you also have people query your theories or principles, you realize that it sticks better, and you also add from the people to yourself. So I realized that that was working for me. So when it got to the point of of computers, during one of my holidays, I went for IT, gathered some money. I bought a PC. I cloned the PC, put it together. I mean, someone helped me at that time, and I learned very well. I went to school and I was making so much of noise. If you don't have a PC here, there's no way you can pass your exams. Go and get a PC. And everybody started running after me. How do I get a PC? I'm going for holidays this term. How do I get this session? How do I get a PC? How do I get this? And that's how it started. And then I realized that, see, I don't need to stress it. I don't need to stress. If what it takes me to put a PC together, at that time, I think it was about 70,000 naira. I think I used to charge about 70,000, if I remember very well. I think it was about 70,000 naira then, several years ago. So I would maybe everything I would buy for maybe 50K, then 20K was plenty of money. 50K then, and then I'll take transport then, young shall grow and the rest. So I had some money to myself. So I thought, Stanley, you don't need to be going home to tell daddy that I need. So those days, holiday time, I'll be in school because I'll be training people. In fact, I'll tell my friends who are going to say, because my father is a pastor, so I'll tell them, please, when you see Reverend Father, tell him Reverend Brother is hungry or you should send something. I'm not coming home at all anytime soon. So I would just sit in school and I'll be having fun because I realized that at that point I could pay my fees. At that point, I could do a lot of things myself and it was earning me. So I saw the opportunity in what people were lazy to do. For me, became an area of opportunity for myself. Yes.
Woo!
So if you are
Ah,
lazy to read your books, don't worry, I'll read. I'll come to class and I'll do. But if you're going to stay in my study session and my study class, be ready to know that those things. So if you are lazy to go find out what it takes to make a computer, I will do it. But you know what? I will charge you for everything. But the day I'll couple it, you'll be there when I couple it, so that you learn. So I've charged you for everything together. But most of the time, most of them would always refer back to me when they need to service, refix, and all that. Yeah.
Kai, you said I found opportunity in what people were lazy to do. Ha! This one is food for thought. This is a seller moment for me, to really go back and reflect. And really, that's what makes money in life. When
Absolutely.
you find what people don't want to do for themselves
Yeah.
and you can do it for them. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Wow.
There are
Okay.
people today who will tell you that I don't have time to cook. You're lazy to cook, people will cook for you and make the money off you. You
100%.
are you are lazy to wash your car, no problem. People will wash your car for you and make money off you from it. So like I said, it's a sea of opportunities. What you see, okay, so there's something in the computer world, it's called YCY. WYSIWYG, I think. What you see is what you get. I don't forget that in
Ah,
life. Yes. It's an acronym. You can Google it. YCY. What you see is what you get.
okay. Okay, Neka. Focus,
Yeah.
focus. I'm thinking focus. Okay. So so because in this conversation,
Yeah.
showing up as the happy employee coach and speaking to
Yeah.
people, I one of the things that people usually would ask is, oh, they want to make more money and all of that. That's why I wanted us to talk a bit about this. Why did you decide to start charging money and all of that? But I want to bring it back again to the career process, right?
Okay.
Where you said you got a job in the call center,
Yeah.
but you were still trying to do your certifications,
Yeah.
right? Was it at what point did you feel like this is not it? Because remember, you had been doing stuff with computing, you had been making money. Now
Yeah.
you had a job. I remember that you also had concerns because other people were dropping names of people that they know somebody somewhere. You didn't have any name.
Yeah.
So getting that job in itself was already a miracle, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
So at what point did it now switch from it cannot be just this? There has to be more. At what
Okay.
point, how was that transition for you? And what made you still pursue that? I know that the call center job, any job really is tough, but the call center job is a bit kind of tougher because I feel like the rates of engagement with strangers is a lot higher,
Yeah.
and the rate of unpleasantness, that's, let me just keep it that way, that an average staff in that kind of job will experience
Yeah.
may be more, or will typically be more than someone in a different kind of job, maybe working amongst colleagues who are generally trying to maintain good camaraderie, all those kind of things,
Yeah.
versus lots and lots of strangers. So that job in itself is exhausting. So at what point did you decide, oh, this is not it? How was that transition for you? Talk about some of the sacrifices that you had to make.
Okay. So in life, the depth of our hunger, okay, the depth of your hunger to know is what drives, if I is a major trigger for success for you. If you get really hungry to a point where you say, you see this thing, I really, really, really want to build something that I know that there's so much hunger for me to really, really learn here. If you sit in a role where you don't see yourself really stretching, you don't see the passion isn't there. Let me go back to the call center where you come every day, it was just routine, you just wear that stuff. There was a guide, so you just come and not a script, but more like, you mean, there's an opening greeting already there. So when people call and they ask, they have issues, the responses are always similar, because if your line is bad, there's only one thing you can do: code to unbar. You cannot apply your mind to say, guy, your line is bad, okay, let me think of a strategy, let me think of a framework to help you unbar it. I just give you a code and you unbar. If 1,000 people call, is that same code I will give to them. So at the point, I said to myself, Stanley, I can't continue to do a work that is monotonous, a work that is not stretching my mind, a work that is not helping me become what I want to become with the sea of opportunities I have. I wanted to get into something that would task my mind. I wanted to get into something that would drive passion from within me. And that's what led me to start seeking. Okay. Until you get to the point where you discover what it is that stirs up passion within you, you may just sit and run around in circles and not really grow. Okay, so at that point, I knew that growth is inevitable for me. Stanley, no, this is not growth. Coming here every day and saying the same thing every day and doing the same thing every day wasn't growth. I knew it wasn't growth. So I think the first things first, you need to understand where you are at the moment and ask yourself, I have been here for 2 years, I have been here for 3 years. How much of my mind, what's the level of elasticity, that this has brought to my mind in terms of stretching and getting me from where I was when I joined this organization to where I am today? If you feel you are still at the same spot, then one or two things are wrong. It's either that you as an individual, you're not applying yourself well enough, or the role within that organization isn't stretching you enough. So one of them would be wrong, and whichever it is, you need to fix very quickly. And what I did was to do that very early, because the problem with it is that you get complacent at the point if you're not very careful, and then you then sit there for 1 year, 2 years. It's now 3 years. It's now 4 years. You're enjoying the bonus. The perks are coming. Yes, you're enjoying it, and then you are 40. Then you are 50. Then it's close to retirement, but you have done only one job. You've not moved from where you are. And you are there complaining and murmuring that younger people are coming and becoming your leads and your managers, and you're still there because you did not find that thing early enough on your journey. Okay.
You as you were wrapping this response up, you hit the nail on the head when you talked about getting complacent. Because I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
Where people feel like, so I tell people, for example, that you can want more out of life and still be grateful for where you are.
Absolutely.
Wanting more doesn't mean ingratitude.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you are not grateful, or you no. You can actually want more. The two can coexist, right? Because you said, you asked yourself, I'm coming here every day. What am I using my mind to do? And I want to ask that question to anyone watching this. The role you currently occupy, you've been doing the same thing over and over again. This is October 7th. In this year 2025, what has been that role?
Yeah.
What have you added? Can
Mm.
you add? What have you improved? What have you made more efficient? What exactly? I think it's so important that if you truly desire growth, if you truly want to be a happy person, if you don't want to wake up at 50, like Stanley said, and realize, wait, I've been doing the same thing day in, day out. What am I going? I meet people 2 years to retirement, 4 years to retirement, 5, and they're like, what am I going to do afterwards? Because they've sat into this role so much, it hasn't stretched them at all. And now they are realizing this steady supply is about to be cut off. But for someone who has engaged in a role that has been demanding for their mind, they already can think of something. They understand
Yeah.
how value is created
Yeah.
intentionally.
Yeah.
So, with anybody that is watching this, pay attention to what is being said here early on. If you don't make that switch quickly,
Yeah.
you settle into complacence. And then you don't join the bandwagon of many people who are just complaining.
Yeah.
This company, they just keep hiring people. They just keep bringing new people in. They don't want to promote us that have been here. Don't be that person.
I agree.
Don't be that person.
Absolutely.
Don't be
Absolutely.
that person.
Okay.
So, you talked about taking the plunge to search for what function in this organization will help me express me.
Yes.
Talk to us about the if there was a mindset shift required to do this,
Okay.
how did you see yourself? What process? Because sometimes people want to move units. I was coaching somebody and I was asking her, like, okay, what are you going to bring to the table where you are going to? What will make that person you want to go and court and say, oh, I want to come over, give you the light of day to even listen? So
Yeah.
talk to us about that process of, okay, I've realized I don't want to be here long.
Yeah.
I think I can do this thing. Because at that point, for me, it's still I think, right?
Yeah.
I've been doing it here and there, but well, not in the corporate setting.
Mm.
Talk to us about in detail what it cost you and what it took from you to make that move, right? In terms of relationships, in terms of how you presented yourself, in terms of time. Talk to us about that transition.
Okay. So wasn't a very easy move because I had done over 3 years in the call center, and like most of you would have experienced or would be experiencing today, you realize that when you've stayed in doing a role for too long, you start getting, because it's monotonous. There's nothing much to study to say you want to learn about it. There was nothing much to there was nobody you were really learning from, because everybody was just doing the same thing per se, apart from learning, oh, you didn't use the right code, give the wrong. So there was nothing that was challenging. So that was very, very, very that was a huge pain. But I knew that if I was going to be successful in my new role, because not everybody, and I must say this, not everybody that got that, when we did the interview, like I said earlier, we had about 7 other people who interviewed with me. And not everybody who got that job moved from that job. Some of them 20 years after still doing that job. And I don't mean any, I am not here, I am not sitting to demean anybody. I'm just trying to express what actually happened. 20 years after, still doing the same job, because the call center, unfortunately, most of us who came for that interview came from the call center. And the call center has a way of will condition you in a way that if you don't break out of that shell, you would just move into your next role and you will be like that. And that's why people move into HR, they move into sales, and they don't move beyond where they are, because you did not first take the step to unlearn. To say all of these things I did here, they were just nonsense. I wasted 3 years, even though I had a good job and I'm grateful for the job, but I wasn't, in terms of growth, I wasn't growing. So there was a need to say all of those things and put them aside. And then you need to wear a new hat. It's where do you now want to be? And like they say in the UK, mind the gap. So what's the gap between where you are now and the critical competencies for growth? Like I said to you guys, I immediately started relearning as much as I could. I had to buy books, I had to attend trainings. In fact, I can't forget how I had to go look for money at a point to attend a major conference that I thought was going to make a shift in my mind, and that shift helped. So I stood on that, and you have to be willing to. I mean, the will to learn must be strong. If you look at the skill will matrix, for those of you who know the skill will matrix, where you talk about skill and will, once your will is high, even if the skill is low, you will definitely grow, because you will learn very quickly and you will grow. Learning agility will be high. So I decided to learn as much as I could under people. I still remember some of my colleagues, I speak to them today, who I went to sit under to learn, to say, please just teach me this role. See this thing, just teach it. They will send me, Stanley, run here, go and print. I will go print, go and bring it. I will go bring it, because I wanted to learn. I remember some of them were quite hard in the way they expressed themselves to me. But it was okay for me to be humble. You know what they call stoop to conquer? I said to myself, Stanley, it is 2 years you want to do. In this role, you want to do 2 years. 2 years is your 4 years. Take all the shit, take everything, whatever it is, Stanley, do it. And if you ask people around me, you would never have seen me with my face. I never frowned my face for any day. So I will do it. I will not forget, on one occasion, we had a strategy retreat, and I was the youngest person in that retreat, and I was running everywhere, ensuring things worked very well at Federal Palace Hotel. I was running back. I had to use my car, because waiting for company car to come and meet me and back, I couldn't wait. I had to be using my car. And on one occasion, I will not forget, I slept off driving. I had a ghastly motor accident, yes. But you know what? The next minute, people who saw me the next minute did not know. I was still smiling. When I had already called an auto mechanic to come take somebody's car I had damaged to go fix. The next minute, I was still at the next venue and I was running. I was staying strong. And I ensured that as much as, in fact, when I mentioned it to someone, they said, Stanley, you didn't mention yesterday this happened and you were here till late last night. I said, yes. I had something to deliver. I had every right to call in to say, guys, I'm so sorry. I just had something just happen now, and I'm not coming back till tomorrow. And I know anybody would understand. But at that point, I had the job to deliver. Read the book, The Message to Gasha. If you haven't read that book, that's one book that changed my mind for good today. The Message to Gasha. If you read that book, you can chat me up on LinkedIn and we can discuss it. It's an amazing book. It's about a guy who, Rowan, who was asked to go deliver a message to a military general somewhere that nobody in this world, the opposition, nobody in this world could find. But you know what? This young guy, Rowan, took the message to Gasha, who is the military lead, and did not ask a question. Where is he? Who is he? What does he look like? But you know what? He was only focused on delivering the results, and that result he delivered. It's an amazing story you need to do. You need to read. So that's what happened for me, and I tried to unlearn, relearn. I stayed humble. I was willing to learn from everybody because I knew that my time was short. I was working to a certain time frame that I did not want to do beyond. So for you as an individual, you must be willing to do your turnaround. Don't leave it too open. Tell yourself, I have a turnaround to do, and my turnaround must happen in 2 years. It will happen in 3 years. And there's a specific plan for that turnaround to happen for you. Don't allow it to be like the NNPC turnaround that is taking forever and we can't finish it. Let your turnaround be a turnaround that will start and will finish within a specific period of time, and have somebody you are answerable to who can knock your head sometimes when you are failing, who can look you in the eyes and scream at you when you are not ticking off the right boxes, and then follow humbly. I can tell you the sky will only be a stepping stone for you. Okay?
Ha! Wow. One of the first things you said was, be careful about being conditioned by the role you occupy.
Yeah.
And that, you see, that thing is deep. Oh. Hey, today I was driving out and I'm contemplating a transition. I'm going through a transition myself. And I was saying to myself, okay, Neka, you need to go and get books on this and this. Yes, you know it
Yeah.
a bit, but go and look for associations to be a part of that on this thing. Go and look for
Yeah.
this and that. Just get into that space. It will help you. Hearing this is further confirmation. You went and you bought books.
Yes.
You went to look for money to attend conference.
Yes.
You went to meet colleagues to learn from. You
Yes.
see, the thing about doing a job for a little too long is indeed that you can become complacent. So I'm
Absolutely.
saying to anybody on this call now, if you have been in that role for more than 2 years, 3 years doing the same thing, you are setting yourself up to be made redundant. That's the plain way I'll tell it to you.
Absolutely. I agree with
You
you.
are
I agree with you.
setting, because this thing you said, was it my second or my third guest now? I can't remember, that said the same thing. That people will sit in a role, right? And
Yeah.
then when they now, by year 4, the company is looking for someone else to hire and they are not up to speed, they will now be angry with the company.
Mm.
Because you are doing the same thing over and over again. You're not adding any value. You must
Any
be
value.
intentional about transforming the work you are doing
Yeah.
if you want to maximize the returns from the company.
Absolutely.
You can't be doing the same thing and think it is okay.
Mm.
So see you running around with your car. You left issue of is it my fuel? Is it my business? After all, this is my work. Am I a messenger? This you left all, you packed all those ones one side
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and focused on, they gave me a leg in. And my whole
Absolutely.
body, everything will enter. They will know that
Yes.
somebody
Yes.
is here.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
that's the attitude. That's the attitude.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about this question? Because that one struck me. So tell us as much as you are able to feel comfortable sharing. When a colleague said to you, how can you allow a woman to be controlling you? Do you understand?
Yeah.
And I want you to talk to us about in answering that, some of the biases, right, that either we have or people we listen to have, that actually are, counterproductive to our journey. So talk to us about that, right? So when someone said that to you, and they just talk to us about that and these biases as well.
Okay, so I think there are several biases. There's the bias, I mean, that we need to be careful of as we run our race and as we go on this journey. So when he said that to me, you see, I don't forget it because it hits me differently. And I asked myself, is this how this individual thinks? Or is this how people here think? Maybe one person has just been bold enough to come say it, because I could still see the same attitude with a few other colleagues in the same organization. Because after that, I now started observing that I know of somebody, so another person who would ensure he comes at 8, and in fact, by 4:45, he's already packing his stuff to go. Because we had a few amazing ladies who led us at that point. And traditionally in this part of the world, some people will tell you that they can't believe that a lady leads them, and that becomes a problem. And it's inhibiting, it really, really hinders growth, because you can learn from everybody. This is not your father's sitting room, it's not your father's home. We're in a corporate organization where everybody has come with their skill set, everybody has come with their competencies, everybody has come with performance, and together we learn. That's what makes a team. Otherwise, you will never grow. So these individuals have that mindset, and I can tell you that they did not go beyond a certain level. Okay, then I also see biases of people who sometimes say they can't learn from people who are junior to them, either by virtue of the fact that they are in roles that are at lower levels. See, you can learn from anybody. I can tell you, at a point in that organization, there was a time we needed to do training plans, and I was coming with computer skills and knowledge. So I realized that these amazing colleagues I had, they will spend 2 weeks, 3 weeks with spreadsheets, and they will sit on a spreadsheet with thousands of or hundreds of names, because we're several people, hundreds of names, and they will go cell after cell after cell, and they will be doing, not today that a lot of us know how to do. You add one formula, 1,000 things are done. So I observed it. Anyway, I stood and I learned the job. But after learning that job, I sat with them one day and I said, guys, I think there's a better way. Okay. If you put a formula here, firstly, you can clean up your data by doing XYZ. And if you put your formula here, you will be able to do this in, in a few hours. You are done, because it require a bit of time to clean up the data because you spool from a system. And once you're done, so what used to take them weeks to do, and I'm not kidding, we could now do in less than 24 hours. In fact, it brought a lot of respect, and I'm so grateful for some of the colleagues I worked with at that point. I mean, I'm almost tempted to mention their names here. They were willing to bend backwards to say, this guy has got something, can we take what he's got? He's learning from us. So the work environment must be symbiotic in nature, because we learn from each other, and that they have never forgotten. And to help them, I had to bring a friend of mine, David Brown, who now came and taught everybody Excel, because I felt it was pain. And that's how some of us moved a bit in terms of our Excel knowledge. If you remember, there was a time in First Bank. I mean, I heard this story, and I'm sure most of us would have heard it, when the bank was going through a transformation, digital transformation or technological transformation, when other banks had done it and they were still doing old school. But one day they woke up and they wanted to go through their own transformation. They did this reverse mentoring where they hired younger people who coached more senior people, because the senior guys were there. They didn't know how to use the computers, and they had bought all of them iPads because they wanted to make the bank now more technology driven, but they didn't know how to use them. So they hired younger talents who were very savvy with these things, and they had to then coach the senior guys. So that's reverse mentoring. And if you're not willing to say, at some point, let me bend backwards a bit and take as much as I can as I look forward to leaping, then you're going to get stuck, because you don't know everything. You are not an island of your own. You need to, as much as possible, bend and be willing to learn. If you read the book, The 360 Leader, the 360 Leader says you lead both those at your top, those at the bottom, those by the side. And in the same way, the 360 learner says, I mean, this is my own model. This 360 learner, you learn from the people above you, you learn from the people underneath you, you learn from those who are your peers. It's very, very important. And if you don't take those things out
Yeah.
and you sit and say, I am the oldest here, I am the, it cannot be female, it cannot be this, it cannot be that, you're going to be stuck in your career. Yeah.
Wow. So I think it's important what you've shared to say that yes, we acknowledge that the biases do exist, right? And we're not going to run away from that. It's real, they are there. The question is, what do you want out of the
Absolutely.
work experience, right? Because even in, I'm trying to remember the setting this was. I was doing some group training somewhere, and people were split into groups. I can't remember the details of the particular session or or context organization, but somebody was put into a group, a subgroup, and the lady was a leader, and he said no. This is in 2025. He said no,
Wow.
that he cannot be in a group where yes,
That's
and I almost I couldn't. I thought it was Nollywood because I just couldn't. My
in the
brain
day
could
and
not
age, right?
accept and process that in
Yeah.
2025 in the city of
Mm.
Lagos, somebody would think that
No,
and
no,
say it.
no.
No, you can think something and then you
Absolutely.
don't say it, but you
And then
think
you
it
voice it out.
and
Yeah.
then you say it out as your reason
Mm.
not to be in that group,
Mm.
requesting to be reassigned.
That's a huge
And
that's
it's
a huge setback
that's huge,
for that individual. Yeah,
honestly.
huge setback.
And I think anyone watching this, ask yourself, what are your
Mm.
biases? Ask yourself. Those things can limit you. Imagine that you decided because somebody said that to you, now say, ah, but it's true. I
Mm.
mean, how can? Imagine the learnings you would
Absolutely,
have lost.
absolutely, absolutely. And anybody on this call, you
Just
need
imagine,
help.
just
I mean, speak to people like Neka. If you need help, don't be shy. I mean, there's no time that is too late for you to turn the hand of the clock. Okay, you need to move that needle very quickly. Seek help now so that things can shift for you. Otherwise, you will realize that it doesn't only impact your career, it impacts other relationships in your life, it impacts other things that you've got to do. Okay, a lot of the things that we suffer or struggle with today, even outside of work, at work and outside of work, are because of because of complicated biases that we have entangled ourselves into, that we are unable to come out from. So it now decides what we see. It informs how we understand. Even when we hear, we understand differently, and then what we conceive in our minds, definitely, because there's a mindset, right? So everything you bring, when someone says come let's go, what you hear is come let's sit. You now begin to misunderstand things differently, and it keeps you stagnated for a longer time in your career. Yeah.
100%. This is so true. My goodness. I really wish I could stay here and talk more
Mm.
about these biases, right? Because sometimes the sad thing with a bias is that people are
Yeah.
blind to it. Sometimes it takes somebody else shining the light
Yeah.
for you to see, ah, I'm thinking about
Yeah.
this thing wrongly. Oh. I'm not aware. And that's the power
Yeah.
of association. So I want to ask another question, but let me come and ask this one. Talk to us about the impact of those who you listen to. Association in general, whether it
Yeah.
is your friends, whether it is outside work, whether it is, talk to us about the impact of associations, who you associated with on your career journey. As much and as wide as you can go, as narrow as you want to keep it. Let's have that conversation.
Okay, so see, who you follow, what you follow will determine where you end up. Okay, who you follow and what you follow will determine where you get to and where you end up. And it's quite important that we live with this. So when I started building the talent management, my muscles around talent management, having worked with one of the strongest minds in talent management in Nigeria, I wanted to really grow. So there was somebody else I also wanted to meet who I heard about, and I heard he had done amazingly well in talent management. I started looking for the person. I spoke to people like, I wish Enife is on this call, Enife Tobiloye. I said, I see you're connected to this person. Can I meet this person? Enife came to me and said, the person is out of the country, is now doing global role. I said, wherever he is, I want to meet him because I wanted to become a voice in talent management. So I wasn't just willing to have everybody within my space or mentoring me. There was a focus. I wanted to learn this and become a voice in this space. And I kept looking for this man until a certain day. It was that bad that I heard that he was coming into Nigeria and moving into a particular organization. I found myself in that organization. I can tell you that's how far I went. I found myself in that organization. Should I shock you? My first role as a HR head, he handed over to me because we now work together so well that we curated talent strategies and things that is Stanley. I mean, there's no other person. I mean, he handed it over to me. I led HR for the first time after he moved to become a regional talent lead. So, what am I trying to say? We must be very careful to ask ourselves on this journey, who are the people that would be enablers for us to grow? So you want to become X, you want to become Y, you want to become a sales leader, you want to become a supply chain leader. The question is, who are the voices in supply chain, in sales? And how close are you to them? And I don't need to remind you that you are only 3 to 6 people away from anybody you really want to meet. I hear 6, but I know it's lesser sometimes. I only spoke to one person and I got the other person I wanted to meet. And these things, they work because it's about how badly do you really want this? And if you want it, then it's not everybody that you need in your space. You must stay focused and find the right people. Find the right people who would help you gain the skills. Find the right people who would help you shape on your behavior. Find the right people who would help you grow leadership competencies. Those are critical because there was a day I went for a full gospel businessmen's fellowship. I'm sorry, I mean talk about all of this. These are things that I do. I went for a full gospel businessmen's fellowship. A man came
We are going
there.
to discuss faith, so please go ahead.
Thank you. And the man came there to speak to us. And he spoke about the Tower of Babel. And by the time the man was done, I said, Haba, where on earth has this man been? And I walked up to him and I gave him my card. I said, I'd like to speak to you. I am not kidding. The impact that man has had in my life, I can call his name Dr. Maxwell Oba. You can look for him. The impact that man has had in my life in terms of leadership, in terms of strategy. In fact, I used to play around the corridors of strategy until I met that man. I became very strategic when I encountered that man. This was somebody I met at an event. I was invited and I went there and I met that man. In fact, the partnership we have held, after that encounter, he mentored me a bit. I brought him to my organization then. I went to my HR director, I went to my MD, I said, you need to meet this guy. This guy spoke before. He went to a conference where Tony Elumelu was speaking, and Tony Elumelu, after listening to him, signed something and said, take it anywhere you go to, tell them you train me. And I signed this. And I said, a man like this, I stood under him. I went to visit him in his house. That's how serious it is for me. I went to his house to see his family, to say, hello, how are you? And then told him, see, I want to learn. I like the way you speak to people. I speak to people, I speak to crowds. But you know what? The charisma in yours, I want to learn it. And I picked that from him. Today, he is a strong mentor. Before I started moving to the UK, I went to his house to say, I'm moving. And he sat me down and said, Stanley, like this, it's like this, it's like this. So it's about meaningful relationships and connections. Let's put it that way. It's not just about just anybody in your net circle. It's about meaningful connections. What is it you want to get out of this relationship? Let me say this. Nick, I was saying something about us being blind to certain things in our lives. And I'd like to add to that the blind spots, that we all have our blind spots. And sometimes we don't see what happens around those areas of our lives. Okay. You can only see to a certain extent. You need people who can look at you and look around you and be courageous enough to say to you, Stanley, there's something about X and something about Y that you're not getting right. I'm happy to support you. I'm happy to help you. And people who mean well, okay, you need to find such people in your life. Sometimes some people have just one mentor. Sometimes you may have a mentor that mentors you around leadership elements. And then for your core element, your career goals, you have a coach or you want to have a mentor who also supports you in those areas. Because when it comes to life's journey, you may need somebody else who also shows you and helps you understand how to take certain steps before you make marital decisions, before you think about having children. Try and ensure that you have the right people in your network hand holding you and willing to support you on your journey. It works like magic and it helps. That has really helped me. Yeah. And let me add this. And when I read the biggest book in talent management, succession planning by William Rothwell. William Rothwell is a professor of the Penn State University in the US. I was starting my career at this time, and someone handed that book over to me and said, "This book, somebody showed me the book and I went to buy it. I bought it, and after reading it, I took the man's address and I sent him an email. And I said, I want to become one of the talent leads globally, and I would like to meet you. He said, okay, when would you like to see me? Trust me, then I was still earning my peanuts. I went to look for money. I bought tickets. I went to the US. I went to meet William Rothwell. I can show you pictures. I went to meet William Rothwell and I spoke with him. And in his mind, he was wondering, who is this young African man who came to see me? He gave me only 2 hours of his time. After speaking with me that day, he autographed an updated version of that book and gave to me and said, come back the next day. He told his PA to put me on the calendar for the next day and say, come again. We need to talk. I'm interested in you. I call his name William Rothwell. William speaks at the biggest talent management conference globally, ATD, American Society for Talent Development. I think that's what they call them. He speaks at that conference on a yearly basis. And I went there, I met him, and I knew the day I met him that something changed on my career journey. Yes.
Nneka, your work is cut out for you. Yeah. Where shall we begin? Okay. Hey. Wow. Okay. Nneka, you are the interviewer. You are not the one that is. Wait,
Absolutely.
let's come back. You are the one interviewing. Let's come back. What? Okay. Time is going. I want to end this in the next 10 minutes. And it looks like I'm going to have to bring you back because something else I also want the podcast or the show to look at is also the role of money in career.
We'll come there
We can't
later,
touch
not
that
today,
one today, right? So, because there are 2 other things I want to ask, and then I don't want it to go beyond 90 minutes. It's already 10 minutes to 9, surprisingly.
Absolutely.
It feels like we just started to me. You talked about having a clear career plan. What made you how did you even come across the concept or the term a career plan? How does one come up with one? Is it necessary? What difference does it make? Talk to us about that.
Okay, so 2 things I'll start with. Number 1 is, I think that saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Okay, that it's very true. It's very true. And I have also come to understand that personally, I like structures, which is very important. Thirdly, I would say that you can never achieve anything meaningful without a clear-cut plan of how you want to get there. So you don't just wake up in the morning and say, if you want to be a very successful man or a successful career professional, it is not when you get to the office on Monday that you plan your week. You plan your week before you leave. I mean, the weekend, Sunday night before, you are clear what you would wear each day. I'm sure some of us understand that. We know what we'll wear each day because we will need to do the makeups. We need to do, so that one will do very well, we will not fail. But how many of us take the time to say, this week, in line with my objectives and the things I need to deliver. These are the things I will do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to deliver my objectives. And in planning it as well, let me add this leg. You know that your energy is higher at the beginning of the week. Usually towards the end of the week, you begin to decline somewhat. Also, on a daily basis, your energy is higher at the beginning of the day, not at the end of the day. So you don't come in the morning up to work and then you are discussing Arsenal, Manchester, and all of those. And then you go and swallow Eba at 12 noon and you come very tired and weak. And that's when you now remember that the work is piling like this, you haven't touched it. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that at every point in time, what you don't plan for, you may never be able to really carry through. So I said to myself at that point when I joined HR, okay, so this person is a general manager. I used her as my yardstick to say, I want to be here. I know that I know nothing today. It was a very tough one, and this is a space I don't know this space. This HR was new. But what I did was that I had access to the job descriptions of each of the roles. So there was my role as an analyst, there was a manager's role, there was a senior manager role, there was, and so on. So I took each of those and I looked at the years of experience. So I could tell that Stanley, this is what it takes on a good day to get to this role. But I will not do this much. I would want to crash it because I moved into HR late. Remember, I've done 3-4 years already wasted. That's the way I calculate things. So I try to plan to say, Stanley, you've lost 4 years. People who started early have moved. So you're not going to start from here. You have to now reverse the time in your mind, in my mind. So those 4 years, I've discounted it somewhere to say, I will not do, if for instance, at that time, maybe it was a total of about 12, 15 years of work experience to become the GM. I have removed that 4 years somewhere to say, Stanley, in 12 years, 10, 12 years, you will get this role. So for you to get that role, what are the critical, what are the core skills and competencies you need, plus leadership that you require for that role? And that's why I now started filling the gaps gradually to be able to get there. So what I'll say to you today is, it doesn't matter where you are today. Some of you may be listening to this and you're asking yourself, I've wasted my years, I have done this, I have done that. It's not late, just pick it up now. Pick up now from where you are. And then I am happy to share, I have career development templates. So when it comes to talent management, I have loads of frameworks and templates, and I can share with Nika to give to people who may be interested to help you sit and say, okay, this is where I am today. This is the number of years I have, whether to retirement or to whatever. And this is what I want to then start to do. Okay, this is the much I can do over this time. These are the gaps I see today. And then how do I bridge this gap? It has to be a clear plan. It's not just a plan of drawing from here to here, I will move from here to there. It's a detailed plan that says what you would do in terms of skill acquisition, in terms of knowledge, in terms of leadership. If it is what you need to do through mentorship, you put it there. I need to see mentors on this kind of mentor on this time and at this time. There is a man who is the mentor. I will beg Nika to help me reach that man because I see this man has done this before and I want to learn under him. I told you I went all the way to the US to pick something. It cost me a lot. But think about what I paid then as ticket to travel versus what I earn as a global HR director today. That was nothing. I mean, it's several years of making those investments. And I'll talk to you about investments. I tell everybody, my library is a lot more expensive than the clothes I wear. And those who see me know I try to dress, a little bit decent. But my library, if you come, my books, they are, in fact, I've read books to the point that now I'm writing books. So that's the level I've moved into. So it's to say you have a lot of these things inside, make it available to the world out there. So let me not overflog it, but it's quite important that you understand that planning and structures, they really help you. And when you put your plans, put the right milestones to say, this is what I have to achieve at this time. And when I get to that point, I will celebrate myself and celebrate it. And when I don't, I hold myself accountable and I have the right accountability partner working with me on this journey. Yeah.
Now, wow. I'm asking myself what to ask and what not to ask. Okay. I am happy you mentioned one of the mentors that has influenced you, right? Dr. Maxwell, right? And
Yes.
I've met him, opportunity to hear him train working with Chike as well. And
Ah,
that's that
yeah,
was
yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah,
phenomenal.
yeah,
Right, that was phenomenal.
yeah.
And I mean, it's just powerful to see that. I think for anyone that is watching this, right, is for you to understand that what you need for your next level is usually not very far away from you.
I
The
agree.
question is, are you alert to see it? Are you willing to pay
I
the
agree.
price?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
What you need for your next level is usually not that far.
Yeah,
Are you willing to pay the price?
yeah.
Are you willing to pay the price? And it's possible. See his story from traveling night boss to where he is today as a global talent leader, right? I mean, it's interesting because if I asked you when you were in school traveling on one of those journeys in the night, where will you be in 20 years? I'm not sure you could not have imagined this.
I would never have imagined. I agree.
There's
I
no
would never have.
way.
Yeah,
And that's the beauty about what I want to do with C-Suite Speak, to let people understand that your future, if you pay the price, is much bigger than your mind can contain now to imagine.
absolutely, absolutely.
If you follow these stories of grit and growth, where you would be in another 10 years, 15 years will shock you.
Hmm.
So don't be so focused, which is why I like where you started from about the sea of opportunities. I
Yeah,
will tell you later on what that statement has done for me. And after outside, I will tell you
I'll
later on
wait for that.
to
Thank
tell you how powerful it is. I've sent my husband to say, Stanley said something while on this live and see what it meant to me.
you.
While we are here, I had sent him that message to say,
Mm,
and this thing is bringing, and that's the beauty about learning and why I'm so grateful that I've been saddled with responsibility of doing this C-suite speak. That's the way I say it, because I feel like many people will find their stories and their strength in listening to C-suite leaders like you,
mm,
right?
mm,
And they will find that to do.
mm.
As we begin to wrap up, because this is getting to 90 minutes, and if you leave us, I know we can be here for another 1 hour.
Yeah.
Let's talk about um, what, I don't even know how to ask this question. What were you thinking? What were you smoking? What were you drinking when you told somebody that they should take out of the salary, that they should not worry? In 6 weeks, you will prove. What was that?
You know
How?
what?
What exactly was that supposed to mean? Please, hey, talk to us
Yeah.
about. Talk to us about that.
So when you have invested in yourself to a certain extent, see there are days of sowing. Mm? Don't
Mm,
neglect those days when you sow. It's like this. When I was sewing, when I was driving and having that accident, when I was working at night and doing 2 days in one day, when I was sitting and they will call me and drag me everywhere, and I will come on a Saturday, come on a Sunday, come every day. I knew those were days of sowing. People told me all sorts. I heard all sorts of things. Stanley, you don't have a life. Stanley, what is happening to you? But I knew at that time that I was going to switch very quickly and really live my life. But you know what? You see, these 2 years, they are seed sowing years. They are the years of setting the foundation. And you have to do it. The stronger the foundation, the better the structure you have on it. If you build a shabby foundation, whatever you put on it will collapse. So I wanted to ensure I got that right. Okay. So when I moved, I went for that interview and they said that to me. I said to myself clearly that Stanley, when you sow, you must build the courage to be able to go to the market with the produce or the harvest and say to them, you see this one, I sold, and you know what? If I sell to you, go to bed. Okay. So I took that and I stood there and I said, you know what it is? It's a risk I'll take. If I deliver, add it. If I don't deliver, because I knew at that point, as Stanley, I knew I was ready. Nobody would, and let me say this to you, nobody would be able to define your readiness the way you would define. You will be able to, or be able to assess your readiness the way you would assess it. Let me put it
mm,
this way.
mm,
See, the your conscience, and it is the biggest. If you are not a thief, you are not a thief. Nobody can come and impose it on you that you are a thief, because you know you've assessed yourself enough to know that I'm not a thief. And same way, if I flip it, if you're someone who knows you've invested you have spent the years staying stooping low and soaking in a lot, you must be able to release the courage to be able to stand out now and say, I am now on the platform. Guys, I am ready now to sing. And I can tell you that the several years of staying in the studio, this is now my opportunity to show everybody that I can really, really sing. So you must, it's one thing. I see a lot of people really spend the time investing in themselves and they still remain in the shadows. At some point, you will need to leave it. You need to come out and be able to show, because see, the people who will buy from you will come to the market. They will not come to the farm sometimes. So we must move those things from the farm and bring them to the marketplace. Okay. And when you bring them to the marketplace, put the right price tag on it. Especially where you know that, see, you see this one, I have I have done this one myself. Bring it there, and the right people will come buy it. The people who will buy at ShopRite are not the same set of people who will go to whatever market to buy. So
As
be
well.
very, very, very careful about how you then put your skills and your and all the things you carry out there for sale. And I knew at that point that I was now ready. I was ready to run. And after that year, go and check. I can't remember applying for jobs. Okay, so I just sat and the opportunities just kept coming, up to doing regional roles and then supporting organizations at a global level. Okay.
Wow. Wow. Now, wow. Okay. It's 9:02.
Yeah.
I'm worried we need to end this.
Okay.
But before we end, please just talk to us, because one thing I want us to talk again, and another show I'm going to bring you back is on this place of investing, deciding what to invest in terms of learning, deciding who to invest in terms of relationships, and then money. But that's not for today. As we wrap this up, talk to us about the place of faith in your journey over
Mm,
these decades.
mm.
Let's talk about that. However briefly you can, we can unpack
Yeah.
it again. But I don't
Okay.
want to end without us talking about that, because that's
Okay.
intentionally part of what this is about as well.
Okay. All right. So I'll talk about faith. Let me say this, that everything would rise and everything will fall on your faith. And I am a Christian and I respect every religion. I mean, whoever is on this call, you are a Muslim, it's important. And I'm saying the same thing as well. You are whatever you believe in, I mean, respect it. But let me say this. I believe strongly, that for every one of us, we are here on earth, we're carrying light, and in the marketplace and in the business place, we are on some assignment. I tell everybody every role I take is an assignment. It's not just, I am not just X, it's an assignment. And that's why when I join an organization, everybody I've worked with will tell you, I usually will say to them, tell me, what is it you want me to do? Once I am clear about it, I will put a timeline. I'll tell you, I'll do this for you in 3 years. And after 3 years, please find me my next job. I'm very clear. Any boss I have worked with, you can go sit with them and ask any of them. Find me my next job after 3 years, because I'll do this for 3 years. Because the first year, I would, whatever structures, it's called transformation. I would do the transformation in the first year. That's the description. The second year, we begin to build on the we do the transformation. We begin to build on the gains of that transformation. So that's where we then begin to build policies to strengthen the transformation. I mean, when I say transformation, it could be that you're coming to a talent management space and you're beginning to build talent frameworks, whatever, to ensure we're able to keep our talents and all the things we need to do. Then we build the policies that would help keep it. And by the third year, what I begin to do is I begin to build a team that will drive it, so that when I leave, I can always look back. And that's why whenever I leave any role, if you go back and you check, I always hand over to someone in-house, because I would have spent my time developing someone in-house. So what am I trying to say? Let me not miss it. Let me not deviate. We carry lights and we are here on an assignment. And every day you go to work, it's your light shining, and you are shining. And the things that you struggle with at work are the issues, the challenges. the business issues are the things that your light needs to shine against as a child of God. So you don't go to the workplace as an ordinary man. You go to the workplace as a man who carries light. So God sends you to every place you go to as a man on assignment. The question I would ask you, because we don't have all the time to go in detail, is: Are you really impressing God, or are you failing God? Because your success in that role is that your light means your light shines. If you fail in that role, it means your light has been put under a bushel and is not shining. Okay, so that's very important.
Hey,
Yes.
wow. Hey, now wow. Ha, okay. Like I said at the beginning, when I started doing C-Suite Speak, in my mind, it was I have been watching Diary of a CEO, right? Let's create something for the younger people to learn. But honestly, it has been such a blessing for me. And every time I want to show up, there's something that comes up, one thing or the other. There's work, there's life happening, and I'm almost like, but every time I'm able to show up here, there's always something for me. And there's
Mm,
always something for everyone who shows up. I keep getting feedback. I keep getting feedback that thank you for doing this. So we're going to draw the curtain this evening. I've taken 90 minutes plus of your time, and we are truly grateful. I am personally, NECA is grateful because I've learned a lot, right? Like I said, the things you've said have given me some clarity on certain things, which I would, like I said, reach out about. And it's just interesting to see the story behind the person that we see, right? And how human it is, so that other people can look and say, okay, if it is possible for him, it's possible for me. These are
mm,
the things he had to do to get here.
mm.
So don't even kid about it. Don't laugh. Don't play. Literally, don't play. Don't play.
Yeah,
Stuff is happening. Work is being done. Pay
yeah,
attention to it.
yeah.
So this is me saying thank you very much. I am grateful. The happy employee community is grateful. I will definitely bring you back. Just wait. I will give you some time to breathe, and I will
It's
bring you
okay.
back
It's okay.
because there's
It's
a
okay.
lot to unpack here.
It's
And
okay.
we're looking forward to the books that you say you are writing.
I'll
That
share
one
with you soon.
is
Yeah,
very, very critical, right? We
yeah,
need more stories from this side that recognize the peculiarity of our work environment,
yeah,
that recognize the peculiarity of our mental wiring,
yeah.
right? I feel like that's something that we can only learn so much from outside. We need to start teaching our people by ourselves how
Absolutely.
we need to think differently about work. And
Yeah.
so we need more of us writing those stories. So please, please, and please, anybody that tells me they're writing book, I'm always on their case. Please write
I
because
will.
we
Yeah.
need
Uh,
more and more of us to tell those stories. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. My regards to your
thank you
lovely
for having
family.
me. They will hear.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless you. Have a good evening.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.